Hi guys, welcome to the Revive Stronger podcast. This is the improvement season podcast element of that show. As ever, somehow we forget how to introduce this. It's because we flip it between us. So
each and every time it's
like not quite prepared for the normal intro. I also had in my head when I introduced, and no one laughed, which was really bad, when I introduced my seminar slides presentation. I don't know if you noticed this, but I obviously went
laughed. But I was sitting like to the side of you, so you couldn't really see me and hear me as well.
I was waiting for like a roar of laughter. No. Hi guys, welcome to the Revive Stronger presentation. I think that's what I said at least.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The start is always kind of the roughest when it comes to a presentation, I feel. So when I was starting, I was all... So in the beginning, you're always a little bit anxious because you're not very much well practiced in doing those presentations. And I was actually going there, and it was much better than in the past, because in the past, sometimes I was actually quite anxious, just due to the things that we've actually talked about the last time. Having felt like an imposter, not being belonging up there. And this time I felt much more confident because 3 years have passed where I was able to actually gain knowledge, experience, and all that kind of stuff. But yet still, first initial kind of minutes were just like, a little bit nervous. And for a non-native speaker, this is even tougher than I have the feeling.
And you did you practice yours in the end?
Not at all.
No, exactly. Like that. I'm impressed because, Charlie told me he practiced his, I don't know, like he ran through his like 10 times or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I only ran through mine once and recorded it. But I was like, I've been going through my slides a lot. But I guess it was a presentation that you'd kind of done before on the members site to some degree.
I did it once, kind of. I modified it slightly because a lot has changed for me, and I also wanted to incorporate things such as the term of balance, the investor return spectrum that I have as well, and just like talk about, I think, the immature approach that many people put forth when it comes to like their diet and how to approach that.
But I guess we should probably, I was actually just speaking to Charlotte. She was like, you should put out like a, what's it called? Anonymous, like feedback form. So people can just, if they want to give feedback, because I always feel like we've had positive feedback where I'm like, would anyone come to my face and be like, that was terrible.
Thing is though, Katie even asked me the same thing when they picked me up from the airport, which was, I was very happy about that they've actually picked me up so that I didn't really have to travel another time with 1.5 hours up to 2 hours just by train from the airport at home. It's ridiculous if you really think about it. But during that ride, she was actually asking me as well of whether we are actually then taking some feedback. And we did it in the past. And to be honest, it's kind of the same principle as the learning thing when reading books, whether you're just consuming books or whether you do something with that information. And it was the same when it comes to feedback. In the past, we've collected feedback and never really did anything with that data. And then it's kind of a redundant thing to collect, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done it, but I think the issue we have here isn't that collecting the data is the wrong thing to do. It's the not acting on it is the wrong thing to do. Yeah. So we need to act on it. Can you think of anything specific that we haven't adjusted? I can't even think what that was.
I think though, when it comes to something like this, the seminar itself, I think from my perspective at least, which is very biased, I think it's already a very well-run seminar. We do everything that we possibly can from a financial perspective and also from a organization perspective, making it as smooth as possible for the individuals. Probably there are lots of things that still can improve, but then it comes with time, with money, or with skills and knowledge. And both of those things, because we are not kind of event managers, and also we can't really invest like tens of thousands of I want to say dollars, but pounds into something like this. It's kind of limited of what it is that we can do. And then I rather want Ada's chasing flies in the background.
Oh, is that what she's doing?
Yeah.
She's a nightmare.
But then it's kind of limited on what it is that we can do. And I think that the things that we can then improve on is providing more value to the people. Considering how we can actually provide even a better experience. So maybe a more exclusive experience. What is that most people wanted. And that is something that you can already hear from just like talking to people, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's hard because I think the thing I want to avoid with these sort of things is like dead time. So I think it's where the periods of time where, I don't know, people feel like they're not getting seen to in terms of like there's a queue to go and see Mike Israetel. And it's like, I don't know what you can do to improve that. I'm not sure. Yeah,
that's what I've been thinking as well. The main thing why people come to those seminars is to spend time and to basically spend time talking to their idols or the people that they idolize, want to just like have a conversation with them. And of course, when you're in a situation like this, you may not realize how much of the time you're taking up from that individual. And behind you, there's already kind of a massive queue lining up just in order to get to that person. And there's only so much time available on a per person basis on an event like this. And that is something that, we will both be thinking about on how to improve that, how to make it possibly more exclusive in the future.
Maybe we can have like a stopwatch. Everyone gets 2 minutes and then you're done. You either get a photo or you can fill that time with questions.
We need to get bodyguards like securities. So, all right. Over to the next one.
At least for Mike.
yeah, absolutely. But man, once again, Mike is such a good speaker. I don't know. So his type of communicating, or at least presenting, hits so much my humor. So it's very rare now. Unfortunately, it's kind of sad actually. But as an adult like now, I very rarely cry and so hard that I'm actually I actually
laugh so hard
that I'm crying. And I was actually doing that several times throughout this weekend, and especially during the presentation. Fucking hell, eh?
He just comes out left field. Like, it just be talking like scientific principles, things like this, and then out comes something completely freaking random that you've never thought of, that he's pulled out somewhere deep in his brain.
And sometimes he's actually deviating so big time, which I find even more hilarious, because that is actually also sometimes me. So completely derailing from the initial topic and just completely talking about something that is absolutely unrelated to actually what it was initially, Just amazing. We recorded the entire thing, guys, which will be able to be purchased over on our shop just in a matter of like probably the next 1 or 2 weeks or so. It's right now being edited, and then you can have a look for yourself. But the presentation was fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious. And I will rewatch that again because I'm already kind of right now laughing.
It was hilarious, but also very informative, I feel, especially
absolutely.
The current kind of day and age, because it was essentially talking about like when technique goes too far, and he just walks you through a really nice, because obviously we know Mike thinks technique is incredibly important, but I think it's become overemphasized, and so he walks you through that. So that was very good. And how did you feel? Were you pleased with your presentation?
Yeah, but afterwards you always think that you can have done things better.
Oh, of course.
Well, what about yourself?
Yeah, the same. I was pleased because I know previously I haven't kind of, like you said, initially you have those nerves and then it kind of dissipates. In previous times, it's just built and it's just got like more and more nervous, and then I get that red rash coming up me. So actually I felt like I managed to calm down as it went on. So I think I was a bit fast potentially at times, but I managed to like collect myself and just continue. And I felt much better. That was the best I've ever felt presenting. So I was very pleased about that. And
I mean,
So
that's the same for me as well. I mean, at home, I'm presenting the very best, in my opinion, when I'm recording like a video or so. But in front of an audience that is sitting right in front of me. And funny enough, Luke from the Muscle Mentors, he was so big that it was always him that I was actually looking at.
Oh.
And that was unintentional. But it was just like he was so big and the light was actually shining down on him that it was always him. Like I was always like talking to him and I didn't want to because he was clearly not the type of guy who actually then suffered from the problems that I've talked about.
What are you trying to say, Pascal? You saying I'm overweight? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. But no, other than that, of course, always things that you think afterwards you could have done better, that you wanted to actually communicate and you didn't do that, for example. But it's the name of the game, basically. If you haven't, such as me, not really practiced it and know what exactly you want to say at what time, it's just what it is, right? And then you can't really expect to just like be a fantastic presenter if you only do it like once every now and then.
No, exactly. Like, how often do we actually present? Like, especially for me, I'm very used to interviewing, so like not talking that much. And then also, and I go on a podcast now and then, but I don't know, it doesn't happen that frequently. And then also with like Instagram, like if you're answering a question, it's 15 seconds and I want to respect the platform and not go on for fucking half an hour answering a question. So I'm used to like just short, sharp, like here's my point, this is the answer, and not going into like long format content. So sometimes I find like I have things to say, but it takes a while for me to draw them out from my brain. That's why I think Mike's great at presenting, because he almost treats it like he's having a conversation with the audience. Whereas it is a presentation, but it's also like he just like talks to them. Whereas I felt like I was presenting and I struggled to be calm and collected enough to like get into a conversation.
It's funny that you bring it up because I think that all the other 4 presenters, so you, Charlie, Jared, and I, we basically presented. And Mike actually entertained. And that's the thing, right? I mean, you can always then, if you're in doubt about who or what type of presenter you want to be, it makes it a little bit, I don't know, more complex because you're standing up there. Do you want to be the educator who just like presents the data without actually standing in the limelight? Or do you want to have that entertaining touch to it as well? And I still don't know what type of presenter I can or want to be, because once again, it's just happening too rarely that I can develop my style of presenting. And if you then look at someone whose presenting style is very much something that you find, I don't know, appealing, maybe it doesn't really suit your style of presenting though, and then it can makes it perhaps even much harder because you're trying to be someone that you're simply not, for example.
I know 2 people that come to mind that I really enjoy their presentations are Mike, who I would say I'm not likely to find that I can become that type of presenter just because Mike is a unique beast in a sense. And the other person was James Krieger. To remember his presentation he did when I went to the PTDC. No way, it wasn't that. PTC, Personal Trainer Collective seminar. And Brett Contreras was there, and I think Alan Aragon, Brad Schoenfeld, and he was there, and his was, to me, the best. And he wasn't like particularly entertaining. He walked you like through a story, and it was so informative. So that's what I was kind of trying to do, like walk people through a story. So I think, and I reckon I'm more like James because he's quite short in how he talks. Like he doesn't just ramble, not that people ramble, but he doesn't expand. Like whenever I'm on the podcast, he's just very succinct and he just answers the question. Sometimes he'll literally just say one word and I'm like, oh, okay, I need to do some more work here. So our episodes are always a bit shorter with James.
And then second day was a little bit unplanned. Because Broder from Urban Fitness didn't show up, unfortunately. And then we were all like standing in the cold. And unfortunately, on that particular day, it was freaking cold. Standing outside for over 1.5 hours. Didn't show up. And then Steve was actually then talking to the other Urban Fitness chain. Then we all went there by an Uber ride. And then actually we got in a training session there. But it's unfortunate because I hate it when things don't really go according to my plan. I really don't like this. I'm just too much of a control freak when it comes to those things, and it just annoys me because deep down inside, I always want people to have a good time whenever I do something for them, right? And I organize something. Whenever this doesn't really go according to plan, I feel very, very bad about this. And this was one of those things. Even though that it was outside of our control, we couldn't really deliver what it is that we've set up and promised. People were still like happy with the entire thing, except for one person. But yeah. I
will tell me after.
Yeah, I will tell you afterwards. But other than that, people were still like very happy. And I think that big props to everyone who was there, who made the best of the situation, and who gave us basically also kind of a relief when it comes to this.
Yeah, people were great. They were very understanding that it wasn't in our control, and that was the worst thing. It was the fact, like, bodybuilders love being in control, right? And we had this guy Bruno who was meant to let us into the gym, and there was no fail safes, which obviously I told you called me on Monday, and they were like, we're like putting in all these kind of fail safes in case like something weird goes on, like Bruno sleeps in and can't get to the venue to let us in. And the good thing, at least it was a good lesson for me, because I'm not very good at these sort of, I don't know, confrontational management style things. It would normally be like Charlotte that just takes control of this sort of thing. Like she'll be the person that calls and gets it done, just because she's very good at that, and it's not a skill set I particularly have.
It's also probably due to her work, isn't it?
Sure, I imagine so. But it was good for me to have that practice, because now I know if that happens in future, there's no me faffing around. I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to go straight to the top, what's it called, head honcho. So I talked to the owner, and that's the only way we ever got anywhere, because I was calling the other gym. It was just another personal trainer. So we needed to find someone higher up. So I'm really glad that we managed to get their number, and he picked up, and we managed to kind of get a solution and go to the Aldgate East branch. But yeah, thankfully it all ran. People who I spoke to, at least when we apologized, they were very much like, it's fine, like I'd forgotten about it kind of thing, which is really nice. But yeah, we're passing on obviously the refund that we're getting, and we're going to give them a few little bits and pieces. But yeah, it could have run better, but it still, given the circumstances, was run as well as it could have been, I think.
Absolutely. And still, I think that this was probably the best seminar that we've ever hosted. At least I came off of a high, and now I'm absolute trash.
Yeah. That's we keep messaging each other like, how do you feel today? Really tired.
Which is basically the normal thing when you're taking drugs, right? So you get that dopamine rush, and then afterwards you're just like hitting rock bottom, and you just like break even through that, which you then have to crawl out of that hole again. That's basically us at the moment. Like came back on a massive high, super tired already on those events. I was actually very, very tired, because had to get up early in the morning and arrive back home very, very late all the days. But it was absolutely worth it. And now I'm just like a very slow functioning human being. And I think that this will last for the remainder of this week.
It's like I was saying to you, we need like a week to recharge. I don't know how actually, Mike in particular, because I say I don't know how he does it, but it's because he is very extroverted. So I guess what they say about extroverts is true, in that he gets energy from other people. So actually all this interaction, it kind of charges him in a sense. Whereas I don't know if it's the same for you, Pascal, but it definitely drains me, where I'm like...
It drains me big time, to be honest. So it's so weird, because I can interact easily with other people, and you can't really see that it drains me, but it does. And this is, of course, not meant in an offensive manner, or that people should avoid talking to me. I very much enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm done by the end of the day. So probably the same as you.
No, it's absolutely the same. I literally spoke to someone, she trains in my gym, and I'd seen her a few times, and for some reason we interacted on Instagram, and I reached out like she was in the gym, and I spoke to her, and I was like, I rarely like talk to people unless they talk to me. So like I'm quite introverted, but I'm very happy to talk. Like I literally said the same thing, but it's this exactly the same as you. If people approach me and want to talk, like I'm well happy to chat. And like that weekend, it was fantastic to talk to people. But I'm rarely that person that like wants to go out of my way to talk to someone because I'm like, it's just tiring for me.
Other than that, I very much appreciated actually seeing then other people I have interacted with online, such as all the time, right? You interact with people over maybe a couple of months, you've talked to them like maybe even years ago, and then you finally see them in person and just have a good time. And I think that this time in particularly, I found it so cool to see people such as from the Physique Collective guys. Joe and Matt were there. Joe Ballinger, I've had interacted with him back in, I think it was now 2019 or 2020. 2020. And seeing those guys there, right, was just like, I had a great time interacting with them, chatting with them, especially because they were also very talkative. These were not like the weirdos, you know, where it's like very hard actually then to talk to them. Just like having great conversations with those individuals. And also, it's like I said, right? I mean, there was a reason why these guys were there. It's not that they hate our stuff or so, but I mean, they are coming from, they came from a camp or perspective of like pushing to failure. And now they were there, right? Said it all the time. Once we meet up, we will actually get along very well, have a great time together. And that ended up to be true here as well.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service that will take your physique and knowledge to the next level. If you're interested, check the description and sign up.
Yeah. And actually, seeing them, it's so strange. Like, this is why I think in some ways I'm super grateful for social media and what we get to do, because meeting some of these people who we've spoken to online, it doesn't feel like they're a foreign person. No. Like they're complete, unless people are like putting on a facade online. Yeah. But very much feels like you've already met them, which is really nice. But like you said, some of these people hadn't really spoken to a great deal, like Joe Bellinger, and actually speaking to him one-on-one, it was like, oh, this guy's actually like a really cool guy. And like, these are new people that I'm going to be following online and watching their stuff and seeing how they're getting on. So yeah, I think this has been our best in terms of numbers. I think this has been the most people that we've ever had come to an event, which is crazy considering the past years.
I didn't expect that. To be very, very honest.
I know you didn't.
Didn't expect that. I was very much too concerned due to the financial situation or economic situation in the world at the moment, then also due to traveling and all that kind of stuff. Didn't really expect that this will go down there well, but here we are. Turned out to be just fantastic. And then all of the geared up guys, man, was amazing to see actually.
I like I said to you, like literally I've been searching like on for Joe Jeffrey's stuff. Like, has he covered this question of how late is too late to like go to the enhanced side? I was like, has he answered that question? Because I need to ask him. Like, I want to ask him, but I'm also like, I shouldn't ask him because he's going to tell me, he's going to just think I'm an idiot basically, because I think I know the answer really. It's like we spoke. Yeah. But whenever I see, especially Jared, because he was in contest prep, his waist is so small, his delts are so huge.
The legs are massive. So I think that we had the same response when it comes to seeing those guys. So for us as bodybuilders, it is just cool and aesthetically pleasing to see that. There's no way around it, right? That's why I can also very much understand that if you surround yourself with people who are enhanced, that you're way more susceptible of going down that route as well. Because your basically level of entry is so low. It's just like maybe ask them to get hands on that kind of stuff, and then you have like people supporting you, helping you with that. And also, of course, it's kind of the same with every other cultural thing. If your peers around you listen to a certain music, dress in a certain way, it's way more likely that you do the same thing as well. And that's the same also then when it comes probably to steroid use as well. And I've been thinking about this, right? Where I was like, oh man, this is actually pretty cool. For me, I'm in a little bit of a different situation than you, for example. I'm in Germany. It's very much illegal here, right? So getting my hands on something like this would make me by law a criminal and all that kind of stuff. So that is already a next hurdle in it for itself. And then I think that it's quite easy, because I was trying to reflect upon it, right? And I've been thinking quite a lot over the past days, or not quite a lot, but I've been thinking about it over the past days, that I think you are running risk of just romanticizing it. You just see
glamorized for sure,
and see, oh, this looks amazing, without really considering everything that goes into it. I was even having a discussion with Charlie that he is using a machine for sleep apnea.
Yeah,
right.
Very
and
common.
Jared has done it, or has now gotten one himself as well. That this apparently is the norm, that you need to actually have kind of a machine to sleep with, right? Not only this, just like the amount of food that they are consuming. And then it's another variable that you definitely need to take very, very seriously, because otherwise you can run into very severe health detriments as well. So you need to be on it in terms of getting your health markers checked on a regular basis. You need to actually then be aware of the compounds that you're putting into your body, then getting the compounds, then the food that comes along with it, all that kind of stuff, right? This is not an easy decision that should just be taken lightly. And when I then think about it, I'm just like, this is actually this. I don't think that I would be willing to actually go do all of this, right? It's kind of like, have you listened to, or have you seen or read the book like How to Not Give a Fuck from Mark Manson or so, what it's called, right? There he's talking about like the idea of him being a musician, but he never actually wanted to do what it takes to get there. And that's the same thing as well. I love that look, but I would actually not be willing to do all of those things, at least not now, in order to look that way. And I think many, many people are like that. And that's why they are, though, drawn to steroids, because they think it's kind of the magic bullet. Yeah. What do you think of all of this?
No, your first point in terms of like the people you surround yourself with, what they say, you're the average of the people you surround yourself with, like something like that. So it makes sense. And I've been on a number of podcasts. Obviously, I'm a natural bodybuilder and I've been doing it a long time, competing and stuff. So people are like, so why are you natural? Like, why haven't you gone to the enhanced side? And I was just like, I'm not like a hippie and think that people on steroids are immoral. And I don't have like some really strong feeling that I need to stay natural. It's literally, I never had it in my environment. No one I've ever trained with, been close to, has offered me or been on, at least to my knowledge, on gear. So it's just never been something that I've had access to. And I think if I did, like you said, if I was mates with like a bunch of my training friends or whatever from a young age were on that, like going down that route, I'd have probably gone with them. I imagine I might have. So yeah, it's just, I've led down this route and I'm really deep into it and I'm doing pretty well at natural bodybuilding. So it's kind of where I've gone. And then I always bring up the points you bring up in terms of like people forget about all the risks involved and the costs in terms of lifestyle and everything. And that's always put me off in terms of just, it's another layer of complexity to this whole bodybuilding game that, and you also don't know like how you're going to respond to it. You could be terrible responder, you could be amazing responder, or you could literally, you could have like, I don't know, an allergic reaction or something. There could be some reaction to it, or you could get bad gear. Like there's just a lot of risks involved. And it's like, are the risks there worth the reward? And it's like, what am I actually going to get past like what natural bodybuilding can give me? Like I said to you, I don't have like the amazing structure probably required to be amazing at bodybuilding full stop, let alone going down the enhanced side. I'd probably just be like a competitive, better than average enhanced bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in the same boat. Like I said to you, I'll still look at like Jared and I'll think, fuck, I take more or the same as this guy and I still don't look as good as him. That maybe makes me feel even worse. Now at least I have like the argument of, I don't go down the enhanced side. So maybe that's why I don't look like I don't think it will bring me what I want from it, and I can still get all of that from natural bodybuilding, I think. No, absolutely. And one thing that I didn't mention is, and this is one of the biggest reasons, is especially for you, I think that I could more easily get away with that than you. You are representing, and you are the face of Revive Stronger. Revive Stronger stands for natural bodybuilding coaching, and just natural bodybuilding in itself.
if you were to go down the route of like anabolic steroid use, we would immediately compete then with all of the other coaching services, and you would also compete with all of those other guys who are now enhanced, right? And it would then kind of could possibly set you even back in your own business endeavors even. And that, of course, may not apply to the vast majority of people out there, but this is definitely something that needs to be taken into consideration in this thing as well. I mean, you have to be realistic about it, that it would impact the coaching.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I remember a long time ago, I used to consult with Mike Israel, like now and then, and not business consulting, but sometimes we talk about it a little bit. He was like, you know, Steve, I don't know if it would be beneficial to you as like a coach and for your business if you went pro. Like, I think it's actually better, like in some ways that you don't, because people can see that you're trying to like be your best, but it's kind of a little bit more relatable if you never get to being at that level, because a lot of people can't make it. And so obviously I'm not stopping trying, because like that defeats the point of kind of the message that we give. Yeah. But it was just funny that he even said that, because you'd think, oh, surely going pro and being better in the industry and in the sport would only support the business and be better. But maybe it wouldn't. Just like me being more jacked but enhanced might actually put people off. It's like some of the people that we now have who love what we put out there.
Exactly. And I think that what makes Revive Stronger what it is basically has been your journey so far, and that people can relate to where you came from, where you're at the moment. And this is something that people then, I don't know, take as motivation and as a drive of like, hey, this is kind of me, and I could potentially do this as well if I just like work hard enough, such as Steve did. Right. And so basically also to go back to one more thing, because you said like you would just look possibly like a decent bodybuilder in an enhanced style, and also there not really reach the top. For me personally, it would probably be like I would even just look like a decent natural bodybuilder, but being enhanced or so.
And part of it, though, I kind of see it, I don't know, people choose to drink, or they choose, I don't know, what's their poison, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of see it, if it brings you that much more, it depends if it did. And that's where you have to weigh up the pros versus cons, because if it gave you that much more enjoyment day to day in living, just being like, fuck, look at my jackedness. Like you just feel more confident, better in yourself. Like it is a very risky way to go.
Yeah, but I think no, this is not what I'm trying to say, because I don't know enough about anabolic steroid use and the effects on long-term consequences on health.
Sure.
That's why I can't really say anything about it, because there are people out there who live a very, very long life, but then you can always raise the question of like, could they have lived maybe 10 years longer? And we never really know, right? And then there are people who pass away very early, and we are not talking about the recent just like incidents with many bodybuilders passing away. I'm more so talking about people in their 60s maybe then passing away, which is still relatively early when you think about it for Western societies. And if you then think about it, you could also then there make the argument of like, yeah, it's probably that 10 years have been cut from him due to anabolic steroid use. And also there, we can't really tell whether there's a huge correlation in that regard, right? But for me personally, right now, as long as we don't have absolutely clear evidence about this, I just love my life too much at the moment to potentially take a couple of months or years away from my life. And I already did enough damage in my early 20s with drug abuse and drinking a lot. And that is something I want to be there for as long as possible to see my kids grow up.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's funny you say that, because I had the same discussion with Charlotte. Like, I'm not actually going to have kids unlikely to have kids to need to be around for. So it's kind of like, well, I can take, like, it's a selfish decision, right? I think to go on like anabolic steroids. Ultimately, it's going to impact those around you to some extent.
Oh,
and
That's such a good point, Steve. Absolutely.
So like for you, I can absolutely, like that's something that immediately came to mind. You would potentially be shortening your life for something for you, but again, is that worth potentially less time with your kids? And I imagine it's not.
It's something that, of course, everyone has to decide for themselves, for sure, right? If someone makes that decision of, I don't know, being an extreme sports addict or so, right, and doing base jumping or whatever, a wingsuit riding in the Alpines or so, right, and they have kids at home, there's a much higher risk at it of them passing away as well, and still people do this. So each and every one needs to decide for themselves of the possible implications of those decisions. For me personally, though, man, I came back home from just like 3 days being away, and they picked me up, and I was just like crying because I saw my kids there. That's how much I freaking love my kids, right? And you brought up such a good point, because when it comes to also suicide people, and this may be a very sensitive topic because many people know at least someone or have known someone who actually took their own lives. And this is something that is a very hard thing to talk about, but suicide is so devastating for each and everyone around you. And it is in it for itself, it's a very, very selfish thing. And we don't really need to discuss the reasons as to why people are driven to do such an extreme, or undergo such an extreme measure in order to find relief. But in the end, it leaves a lot of people often very much hurt. And I even said it to one other individual that I've talked about the exact topic, same topic, just recently, that if with the current situation and the love that I feel for my kids, if that's now in, let's say, 15 or 20 years, and one of my boys would take their own lives, my life would also end at the same moment. They would not only kill themselves, but also kill me. And that's kind of a very, very selfish thing.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I can think it's such a, like you said, it's a very touchy subject and a hard thing, but I think everyone can relate to the fact, like if you do know anyone, or you can think of someone who's attempted it, like you think about how much that's impacted you at the same time. Obviously, it's selfish to think about yourself in that situation because obviously they're going through something very hard. But ultimately, like it massively impacts you too. So yeah, if you're taking decisions, like risky decisions, like you said, it doesn't have to be steroids, because I mean, you could die doing any activity. Like we take risks every day to some extent. But I know the guy, I can't remember, he used to run SAS Who Dares Wins, like, and he's a like junkie for like extreme things. And he has a family and kids at home, and his wife really didn't want him to, but he went to climb like Mount Everest. And like lots of people die doing that, but he was like, I need to do this for myself. So it was a very selfish decision for him, but like maybe he needs to do that to be his best for his kids then. I don't know. It's many things to like think about, but I think at least we've given it this much thought, because I hate to think that people don't even give it as much thought as we've just given it in like 30 minutes.
No, absolutely. And I think it's very important to also openly discuss this, because of the exact same thing that you just brought up, that too many people are just like, seeing those big guys, I want to be like them, hence why I now take all of the gear. And that is especially a risk when you're younger, due to just like physiological things in your brain that are not as well developed as so far. It takes all the way up to 25 years to actually be fully developed. And then you're much more prone of taking risks and willing to take risks.
That explains your 20s.
yeah, absolutely.
To some extent.
Especially for males. I can't really recall which part of the brain it actually was that it isn't fully developed, but it is also responsible for actually then taking risks, and it's lesser developed up until the age of 25 in males. And that's why you commonly also see younger males doing absolutely ridiculous and stupid shit, and when you're then growing older, you just become kind of a wussy.
And you go to bed at 10 o'clock and need your 8 hours, otherwise you're a grumpy piece of shit.
Absolutely.
So actually, what I think we've have some takeaways here, but in addition to our fascination with how jacked they were, and the thoughts then on, would I ever go down that route? did you have any other big takeaways from the weekend?
Yeah, how much I appreciate honesty, and being just a genuine person that is not trying to be someone else. Let me just elaborate a little bit more. You know what I'm talking about, right? But I now just bring up Mike. I know Mike since 2017, since we did it the first time together. You know him even longer than me. But ever since then, Mike is Mike. He didn't really change in the way that I perceive him, or he didn't really pretend to be someone else just to be liked or just to follow some ulterior motives or so, get what he wants from you, take advantage of you, right? He was just the person that he is. And that is something that I very much appreciate, that someone doesn't really try to just like please you as a person and is trying to become, or is basically a yes-sayer, just to take advantage of you, right? Get something out of you or so. And that has been the case here over the weekend. And so far, everyone that Mike surrounds himself with, and I was privileged enough to get to know as well, such as James Hoffman as well, and also now Charlie, for example, and Britt, Crystal, has been the same. And that's why I loved this weekend so much, because we were able to finally also here spend a lot of time with those guys as well. And these are just like great people. And that is something that I truly appreciate, honestly. It sounds like such a no-brainer, but having met a lot of people in my life due to also the occupations that I did, like being a tour manager, being on tour like with bands, right? Going from one venue to the next, and also being then around like more successful people in the music industry, you can't imagine how many hypocritical people are approaching you, and snakes basically, who just want to actually get a piece of the pie under all circumstances and at any cost, and who are so deceptive and everything, right? So many people are like this out there, who just want to take advantage of the person that you are, maybe, or the situation. And that is something that I truly appreciate. And you said it even, that the audience that we are attracting, that basically this probably applies to a lot of people who were there as well. And that is something that I truly appreciate.
Yeah, it's everyone I interacted with just seemed so genuine, interested to learn, like just nice and just kind. And that's the same way for Mike and Charlie and Jared, obviously Crystal, Brittany. It was fantastic to hang out with them and get to know them a bit more. And like it didn't feel kind of, like you said, it didn't feel awkward or weird at any point. And every time I get to hang out with them, I just want to do it more, because I feel like I don't know what it is, their intelligence and their way of being rubs off on me in a really positive way. And I'm like, I want to be more like these people. And so it's always nice being put into these social situations, because unlike you, I haven't had a great deal of experience. But every time with them, it is positive. And I can say even the time when Mike first came over with James, they were exactly the same. Like, and they haven't changed. Just really, really. And if anything, I feel like we take advantage of Mike. I know we're not taking advantage of Mike. I know we're not. And he would be like, don't be silly. But I feel like I want to even give more back to these people. And that says everything about who they are. Yeah. Because it's not like me or anyone to really want to like give to people all the time. And Mike, I just feel like, and RP and everyone who was involved and everyone who attended, even, like, we really want to give our best to them. And that just says everything, because if we felt any way disgruntled, or like you say, like, have a bad taste in your mouth through an experience with them, you wouldn't want to give them anything back. You wouldn't want to interact with them. You wouldn't want to do it like as many times as we have. And now we're even looking to, hopefully, who knows what's in future, but do it more regularly and have more interaction and more time. And, well, we've even talked about potentially going over. We need to go to the US at some point and do something there, because
since 2017, we're actually planning this, doing like a US trip.
Yeah, we actually need to go do it, train out there, eat loads of good food in an off season. Actually, I'd kind of want to do it when we're shredded, but it'll probably be more fun when we're in off season.
Taking off the shirt, hitting some poses.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service,
At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
At least a mini cut or something, because I felt for Jared this weekend, being like 5 weeks out, and you could tell he was not his as energetic self, but he did still fantastic. And like I said to him in my post, and I've said to him individually, like, so I know everyone who came really appreciated him being there. And the great thing is, and I actually had someone come up to me on the weekend and was like, it's just for them, they don't have a lot of people in their life who are as into this bodybuilding and into this lifestyle as we are. And he was like, it's just refreshing to be able to take out my Tupperware and eat, and no one be like, what you doing? What you eating? Why are you eating that? And just people just be like, yeah, that's like normal, you know?
I think it even motivates people of doing those things and behaving that way. So my presentation was all about making dieting easier and eating a little bit more like a bro. And also here in this conversation, we've talked about doing the things that your surrounding or your environment is doing or are doing. And I think it makes it so much easier actually than taking out the Tupperware and doing the things that you actually enjoy doing, right? This is something I think that everyone who is very much a little bit more compassionate about bodybuilding is actually enjoying those things to some extent, right? Or even to a very significant extent. And then knowing that you're not being judged or so, that everyone around you is doing the same thing or even more so, I think is actually quite lovely of a feeling.
I agree. And I think it's also nice. It's nice to have that element, but also then the ability to also switch off, which you've spoken about a lot as well, because you can kind of burn yourself out being hyper focused on, I must do this, do or die. But actually, like Mike and everyone, they're just so comfortable to go switch off. And that's why the dinner was really nice and everyone could go and enjoy that. And it's not like everyone was obsessed about their macros or whatever. Everyone had their different approaches, but everyone ate, enjoyed a meal out. Yeah. It's like just nice you can have, and you talked about balance. And I guess that's how I see kind of balance for a bodybuilder, at least, is to be able to flexible. When you need to be on point, be on point. When you need to be flexible, you can be flexible. And ultimately everything you're doing is like, in my way of being balanced, is everything I do is goal driven. Like you said in your post just now, actually, like you don't miss training sessions, you don't miss meals, you don't miss macros, but when you can't, like you don't go like, holy shit, my life's going to end because I can't perfectly hit my carb and fat ratio. Yeah. It's like, I hit my calories and protein. It's not the end of the world today. Let's move on. So yeah, it's just more of that. I think like that will be, I think people just get a lot from just a weekend of hanging out as a group like that, which will happen at some point.
I don't know if that was your kind of biggest takeaways or so, or whether you've covered it right now. But that's why I'm asking. What were your biggest takeaways for you, or kind of the best moments here over the weekend?
So yeah, it's a good question.
Jubilee weekend, right?
Yeah, the Jubilee.
Celebrating the Royals.
I'm glad I didn't watch any of that and anything like that. I think whenever I do these, one bigger takeaway is just how obviously this is a big event to get a lot of people together. But I mean, it's so much, I get so much value from it. And so I think it's great being in your own routine and doing your own things, but where possible, if I can make myself slightly out of my routine, whatever, and do these social things with people who are in our community and everything like that, I'd like to do it more often. That's definitely what it told me. And I do come away from these things being like, I think I need more exposure to these like social gatherings, because sometimes I find it difficult to like really embrace conversations and get in depth. And I think when I do these, I get better at that and I get a lot of value from it. And so rather than keeping myself in my introverted little hole, it's nice to put myself out there a bit more. So it has motivated me, because you have quite a few clients, even Revive Stronger clients in London. I do as well. So I'm like, man, like it's made me think I want to do that Christmas get together just so we can have some people around again and do that sort of thing. So that was definitely a big takeaway, and just particularly wanting to keep leveling up my own knowledge, just not even just literally bodybuilding, but just life experience. And so I have like wealth of information and experience to share with people in these kind of social gatherings and things, because I feel like sometimes I don't have that and it doesn't make me feel very good about myself. So I was like, rather than just feeling down about myself and like I'm a crap like human being, it's like, oh, let's see if I can improve those areas of my life as well, and then I can bring that to the table and enjoy these social experiences a bit more as well. I did feel that way a little bit after it, because I was like, oh man, if I sometimes feel like I don't have anything to add to a conversation, so it puts me in my shell and I don't feel good about that. as you wouldn't really if you're like feeling like you can't speak because you don't have value to add. So I was like, man, I need to be better at doing and chatting. And I think part of it is just having confidence in who I am as a person as well. It's always something I've struggled with. So that's a very personal thing to me. The other things that we spoke about were very much like takeaways.
I even said to you, Steve, that one time when we were standing outside of their apartment, that you were looking very good and handsome.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that should give you confidence.
And actually, it gave me confidence because a few times the girls in particular, Brittany and Crystal, pointed out that I was going like orange, like not orange. I was going red, like beetroot red. And that used to make me go even more red or like really make me shut up and like go into my shell. But now I just embrace it. I'm just like, yeah, I go red. Like it's part of me. I get embarrassed very easily. And I think, I don't know, part of what endears people to me sometimes is that I am that like a little bit awkward, embarrassed, but like funny at the same time. And I'm fine being that person. Maybe I'll grow out of it one day, but
what I've realized over the weekend is that I actually gave less shits about things while I was running the entire show as well with you. So just to give you an example, while I was sitting down, for example, yawning or so, I've always tried to avoid it, to not give a bad impression then to the audience, especially when you're sitting in the front. Someone is presenting and I'm yawning. It's kind of rude if you really think about it. And
you're doing this through my whole presentation, were you?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you are then also in a more comfortable environment, I think you are more so prone of doing those things and know that it's probably also an acceptable thing. And I was also like, okay, I'm doing this now the entire weekend. I don't want to just like put on a mask, play a certain role. I will just be like myself, right? And just do the things that I now want to do. And when I want to have a rice cake right now, then I will have a rice cake, you know? And instead of like, I can't really get anything out. It's so quiet here, you know?
Yeah, I know. I had those same thoughts and feelings, and I am now more able to, like, I still assess whether or not it's an appropriate action to make.
I mean, of course,
I'm more able to do it in situations where I just like, no, can't do that.
It's not going there that I'm just like, I don't know, stand up from exactly, and then just like throwing things in the bin, and it's just like not falling into the bin, and then on the floor making a lot of noise, something like this. Of course not, but I mean, overall, just like acting way more like as if just friends are around you instead of being an organized business event, you know?
Yeah, I think it's that sense of feeling like eyes are on you, not judging you. They're just accepting you. And I think that's really important, like just to enjoy these sort of things. Because if you constantly feel like, it's the same with presenting, I think that's what helped. I didn't feel like everyone was there sitting there like judging me. And I'm not saying that happened in past seminars or whenever I've presented. But for whatever reason, this time around, I felt much more comfortable in just like being myself. If I screwed up, like no one laughs at you. No one's like, you're awful. They're just like, okay, yeah, Steve's a human. Yeah. He screws up sometimes, whatever. So yeah, it was overall super successful event. And I think we both come away from it exhausted, but in a very positive sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I don't have anything else to say about this. It was a great event. Looking forward to more events like this, or a little bit differently. Steve and I and Mike have already discussed maybe a different setup in the future. I think that people will love that, but this is something that before we are now announcing it, we will actually then further plan it so that we're not making kind of some kind of false promises that never come to tuition or so.
No, absolutely. I'm very excited for what's to come. I think we keep evolving these and making them better, and I think we can do that again and get the best parts of the weekend for more people, I think, is essentially what we're trying to achieve here.
Absolutely.
If we've got a little bit of time.
Sure.
Where are you? Because the audience probably thought you were getting a tattoo now. Is that right?
Yeah. Did I talk about it actually?
I'm not sure.
It was cancelled because the tattoo artist, I don't really know. Over on Instagram, it didn't really look like his mom was actually then kind of bad or in a hospital setting, even though that the studio called me and said like his mom, something's going on with his mom. And over on Instagram, it was that his leg was injured due to playing football or so. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, right? It's kind of, I even said it to you, Steve. I don't want to complain that someone canceled on my tattoo appointment, because come on, this is some first world complaining shit right there, to complain about not getting tattooed and basically getting some ink on your skin and giving someone else money for that. Come on. Right, that's why, it got cancelled. It's a little bit unfortunate, but kind of rescheduled up until December, which is in and for itself a better time to get your hands tattooed.
Colder, so you wear gloves all the time.
Yeah, and also just like the sun not really shining on it the entire time. So much better actually from a timing perspective. And also
you're getting
a better alignment now with the way that I feel right now, because otherwise I would have traveled there tomorrow morning. And physically speaking, I'm actually not really feeling it right now. So that's actually a good thing.
And you're deloading next week then now? Or?
Yes, because Katie was supposed to travel to Mallorca with her friends. But she realized that she's not ready yet to actually be kind of separated from us for several days. And it caused her a lot of anxiety to just think about it. And that's why she said, like, no, I'm actually not going. And Tony and I, we had then a weekend for ourselves planned. And we wanted then to go, because my appointment was actually then cancelled, to go to the Spreewald. I've talked about it at some point, that it's kind of like that fairy tale land in the southern part of Berlin, or kind of, it is in Brandenburg, so the other state, but very beautiful area, right? And I wanted to go there with Tony, spend there maybe a night or so. And this time we are then actually planning of going there together, and then just like canoeing or so.
Nice.
And just like for a weekend. And this is something that I'm very much looking forward to. And that's why I had to now plan things a little bit more around in terms of having them the deload next week, which I also told you that because of the cancellation of the appointment, and I still feel relatively good, and I needed to actually incorporate a couple of more rest days over the London seminar trip, that I should be good for another like 1 to 1.5 weeks of pushing, and then I can really push it, and then just like take an entire deload and be well rested and well recovered again.
Sounds very well planned out.
Yeah.
And you managed to get one session in on the weekend, didn't you? You did one in the
2
Urban Fitness.
Yeah. So
you did one on Friday.
Yeah,
Yorkies,
exactly.
Right?
Yorkies and then Urban Fitness. And what I realized is, like, when you are outside of your typical environment, it is hard to really push it and really give it your go. Unless I would imagine you're in a very cool gym, such as Dragon Slayer in Las Vegas. I could see that you're able to really go hard.
As well.
Right.
Post show, you just, and you've got chicken waffles, like 10,000 calories or something in you. You're just like, I'm fucking going for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that felt like, I don't know, it's like you're in Disneyland. It's just, as a kid, it's like,
just like good machines overall, feeling just newly energized. And that wasn't really the case. I was actually sleep deprived. The gym equipment was. So your leg curl and leg extension machine at Yorkies is actually not very good, I think. Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like those two?
Did you, because they have settings, what settings did you go for? That impacts it a lot.
All right. I just used the settings on the machine because it was like...
that might be why.
Like in the middle, you know? It was set to the middle.
That's okay. The best is if you overload in the beginning portion, because then it really complements.
I should have asked you because it felt very awkward. Very awkward.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of Gen Pop people that go into that gym. They have fucking no idea how to use this Strive and Prime equipment, and they just load it up wherever. I think most people just put it in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's probably okay putting it in the middle, but you can make it a bit better maybe. Yeah, they're okay. They're not the best machines. Yeah. I know you tried the hack squat, the belt squat, and the leg press.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me if the leg press fell off because it takes a while to get into that machine.
And also my right ankle, I could really feel it on the leg press. Unfortunately, perhaps I have to get it checked at some point because it's now 3 months ago since I twisted my ankle. And I still can't get into that deep ankle dorsiflexion movement. Which kind of concerns me, but also kind of doesn't really surprise me that much because you're constantly walking. It never really gets full rest. And maybe it just like takes, because of that, so much longer to heal up. Yeah.
Mike took a look at you?
Yeah, but not the ankle. He just like took a look at my neck, my back.
How did that go?
It was good. Yeah, but of course, it was just too limited time to actually really go in depth about those kind of issues that I'm facing. I'm just a wreck, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
And what's the plan? What's the plan on your end? Where are you at? What is it that you're doing right now?
So I've been the main thing that's changed for me is possibly food. I'm probably going to have to push to 200 calories, which at the moment is fine so long as I'm on it with my meals and don't go, I'm just going to have like this morning I forgot to have my bowl of cereal in addition to my bowl of porridge. And I'm like, fuck, that was like 300 calories. I'm now behind. That wasn't smart. So long as I don't forget things that I need to eat, and it'll be fine to get that in. Just because I sat around, I think ages ago, I said, it feels like I've been at 190 pounds for like a month. 2 weeks of that was a deload and active recovery. So that's fine. But I'm like, I don't want to just sit at 190 and get comfortable. I want to continue moving up. So that's the main change. Everything keeps improving. I'm really pleased with how hack squats have been going. I go in every time and I'm like, fuck, can I really do that much weight for that many reps in reserve? I'm like, I actually managed it.
Very cool.
Kind of get anxious. But yeah, no, all the injuries have kind of dissipated. Just still got a bit of a niggle in my wrist. So I'm not doing any direct forearm work, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got very self-conscious because a lot of the pictures on the weekend, I don't know if it was just the angle, but my calves look fucking tiny. I don't know, probably no one else noticed it. I was looking at all these photos, I was like, Steve, you got to do something about those fucking calves,
luckily it's only your calves. I had the sensation with all of my body, man. When I saw pictures, I was just like, man, I need to get bigger. And I was actually really just like, just from my facial expression as well, and just like the face, that it's just, I think I'm still way too lean, and I really need to push it up slowly now. Because when I
asked you how much were you overstage, I was like,
when I was like besides you guys, I was just like, man, still looking way too lean. All right.
We should have done some posing or something. That would have been interesting. Get Mike involved. He would have loved that. Nice.
Cool.
Hopefully people have enjoyed some of our kind of insights and feedback, very personal to us, in fact. And if anyone attended and wants to kind of comment below, like anything about the weekend, please do. We might reach out for feedback. We may not. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Leave us a comment anyway. Leave us a like. Leave us a subscribe. If you're listening to it over on any of the podcast providers, please give us a nice review or a 5-star over on Spotify. We always appreciate that. And I guess we'll catch you very soon.
Absolutely. Cheers guys.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people. But each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.